3 days passed before the silence cracked. The lake outside shimmered under pale morning light. I brewed coffee and stared at my reflection in the glass. Then the doorbell rang. A delivery man stood there holding a bouquet of white lilies. No card, only the scent that burned my throat. I was allergic to lilies. My eyes watered as I tossed them into the trash. The phone buzzed before I could wash my hands. Unknown number. A real estate agent's voice chirped through the speaker. Just confirming the appraisal for Tuesday at your lake house. My pulse stuttered. My what? I asked. The property at 45 North Shore Drive, she continued. Mr. D, TR letter 1ECDNG, listed himself as co-owner. For a heartbeat, I couldn't breathe. I opened the drawer where my spare keys should be. Empty space. A memory flashed. My father picking up my purse by mistake at the last dinner. 10 minutes later, returning it with an apologetic laugh. My hands trembled as I opened my laptop. 3 clicks to the county records database. Search. The screen glowed with rows of documents. Then I saw it. Altered deed paperwork. Dated 2 weeks ago. His signature beside mine, forged with practiced precision. They had planned this quietly, patiently. Like architects of betrayal. I closed the laptop before I smashed it. The room felt smaller, the air thick. Outside, the wind whispered across the lake. I called my lawyer, Mr. K.H. letter 1EA3I. He answered on the second ring, calm as ever. After hearing the story, he sighed. You saved their house in 2009, didn't you? Yes, I said. I emptied my retirement account to do it. He paused. They never filed the transfer back to their names. You still own it. The words hung between us, sharp as glass. All these years, I thought I was helping. All these years, they were laying the foundation for control. I thanked him and ended the call. The phone vibrated again. A voicemail from my mother. Her tone sweet but dripping with poison. You live alone, dear. That house needs a real family. Delete. Another call followed, this time from my brother. Mom's upset, he said, voice heavy with false concern. Dad just wants what's fair. Fair? The word twisted in my stomach. I stared out at the dark water. The reflection of my house rippled like something uncertain. Every brick, every window, paid for with sleepless nights. They saw only property. I saw years of sacrifice turned into a target. By sunset, I had printed the documents and locked them in a file. This was no longer about forgiveness. It was about truth. And truth, I realized, has a cost. But I was finally ready to pay it. The lake shimmered under fatting light. Somewhere behind the trees, the wind carried a whisper. Not of fear, but of war. The next morning began with fog curling over the lake. I hadn't slept. Coffee tasted like metal on my tongue. At 9 sharp, I walked into Mr. Kai's office. The scent of old paper and lemon polish filled the air. He looked up from a stack of files, concern etched in his eyes. You brought the documents. I handed him the folder. He spread each page across the desk with measured care. His brows tightened as he read. Then he leaned back, tapping the desk with his pen. Colleen, he said softly, you still own your parents' home. I froze. That's impossible, I whispered. He shook his head slowly. When you paid off the foreclosure in 2009, the title never transferred back. The words struck like thunder. I remembered the day clearly. The cashier's check trembling in my hand. My father's handshake, firm and reassuring. His promise to handle the paperwork. My mother's tears of gratitude. All of it now hollow. So they used my name to save the house, I said. And never told you, he finished. Silence filled the office. The ticking clock sounded cruel. Mr. Kai adjusted his glasses. You hold legal ownership of 2 properties, he said. But they might try to manipulate records again. My throat felt dry. What do I do now? He met my gaze. You protect yourself, quietly, legally, completely. I nodded, gripping the edge of my chair. 15 years of loyalty, condensed into a single betrayal. As I left the office, the city noise felt distant, unreal. My phone buzzed with new messages. From my brother, from my mother, from unknown numbers. Each one, reminder that the storm had begun. At home, I poured wine I couldn't taste. The cats rubbed against my legs, sensing tension in the air. I turned on my laptop again. Bank records, tax filings, old emails. Each click peeled back another layer of deceit. They used my financial stability like a safety net. Every crisis they survived had my fingerprints beneath it. Every success built on my quiet sacrifice. The bitterness tasted almost sweet now. Because bitterness meant clarity. I printed the proof and stacked it neatly. Then I called the security company. Install new locks, I said. No one enters without my permission. That night, I stood by the window, watching the reflection of my house on the water. The waves shifted, soft and patient. My phone buzzed again. My brother's message flashed on the screen. Mom's crying, Dad's angry, fix this or don't bother coming home. Home. The word burned. I typed back one sentence. I already am home. Then I turned off the phone. Outside, the moon rose over the still lake. Its light spread across the water like quiet resolve. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of what came next. I was ready to fight for what was mine. Not out of anger, but out of truth and survival. The afternoon sun burned low when their cars appeared. 3 of them. My parents' sedan, my brother's black SUV, and silence between. I stood on the porch, hands steady, heart unsteady. The door slammed, and my mother stormed across the lawn. Do you have any idea what you're doing? She shouted. Her voice cracked with outrage and entitlement. My father followed, waving a manila envelope. You've embarrassed this family long enough, he said. Sign the transfer and let this nonsense end. I stared at the papers fluttering in his hand. You forged my signature once. Try it again, I said. My brother leaned against his car, arms folded. Stop being dramatic, Vi. It's just a house. Just a house. I almost laughed. This house is the reason I slept on an air mattress for 2 years, I said. My mother stepped closer, finger pointed like a weapon. You're ungrateful. We gave you everything. You gave me guilt, I replied quietly. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. My father's face reddened, the old fury igniting behind his eyes. You'll regret this, he said. I already did, I answered. Wind moved through the trees, scattering rose petals across the grass. Behind them, neighbors' curtains twitched. The family drama had an audience. Please leave, I said, reaching for the doorknob. You can't talk to your parents like that, my mother hissed. I just did. The lock clicked shut behind me. For a moment, I leaned against the door, breathing hard. Then the tears came, hot and fast. But not from weakness. From release. In the mirror, my eyes looked different. Not broken. Awake. I walked to my office and opened the drawer. Inside was the accordion file I'd been building. Receipts, loan documents, emails. Each one a piece of the truth. I spread them across the desk under the lamp. Garrett's signature. My address used as collateral. 3 separate loan applications. Every one tied to gambling debts. A slow ache spread through my chest. They hadn't just wanted my house. They'd already used it. Used me. I closed my eyes and let the anger settle. It didn't burn anymore. It focused. The phone buzzed again. A message from Rebecca, my friend from work. Lunch tomorrow. Don't face this alone. Then another from Thomas, our IT manager. I install security systems on weekends. Want help? My chest loosened. Maybe strength didn't mean isolation. Maybe it meant rebuilding, piece by piece. Outside, dusk wrapped around the lake. The water shimmered under fatting gold. For years, I had been their safety net. Now, I was done catching anyone who jumped. The next time they fell, they'd land on truth. And I'd still be standing. Not angry. Not afraid. Just free. Morning light poured through the blinds like quiet determination. I sat at my desk, reviewing every document again. Names, dates, signatures, each one a thread of betrayal. At 10, I met with my new legal team downtown. The conference room gleamed with polished marble and calm authority. Sandra, the lead attorney, greeted me with a firm handshake. "We've reviewed everything," she said. "You're not just the victim here, you're the rightful owner." Her words steadied me more than any coffee could. She slid a folder across the table. Inside was proof, 2 deeds, both under my name. One for the lake house. One for my parents' residence. They never transferred ownership back after 2009. My sacrifice had become their foundation. And now, the foundation was mine again. "What do you want to do?" Sandra asked. "Protect what's mine," I said. Her smile was thin but sharp. "Then we start today." By noon, I had signed papers authorizing surveillance, legal filings, and protective measures. The first act of taking control. That evening, the technicians arrived to install the security system. Cameras. New locks. A silent alarm wired directly to the police. For the first time, I watched strangers work in my space without anxiety. Each drill, each click of metal sounded like reclamation. Later, Thomas from IT arrived with a flash drive. "Your cameras will back up automatically," he said. "Want to test them?" We checked the footage from the past few days. My breath caught. There they were. My mother entering through the back door at 2:17 p.m. My father behind her, holding a camera. They walked through my kitchen, measuring walls, whispering. At 2:36, Laura appeared, hand resting on her pregnant belly. She took photos of the sunroom, the one they wanted for a nursery. I paused the footage. The air thickened. "They used my key," I whispered. Thomas looked grim. "That's 4 separate visits in a month," he said. I couldn't move for a moment. Then I exhaled slowly. "Send me copies of everything." By midnight, I was in my car, driving to meet the estate lawyer Sandra recommended. Her name was Gloria. Silver hair, calm voice, eyes like steel. She reviewed the footage and nodded once. "This is enough for a restraining order," she said. They entered without consent to prepare fraudulent transfer. I signed the papers. My hand trembled only slightly. Outside, the locksmith was finishing the last door. The sound of drilling drowned out my mother's newest voicemail. "After all we've done for you," she said. Delete. The night smelled of rain and clean beginnings. When the locks clicked shut, something inside me unlocked too. I wasn't the daughter seeking approval anymore. I was the owner defending her life. And for the first time, the house didn't just feel like shelter. It felt like power. My power. The next morning, I opened my laptop and began typing. Every document, every receipt, every truth lined up before me. For years, I had swallowed silence. Now I would speak. The email was addressed to everyone in the family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even the ones who always sided with them. Subject line, "Facts you deserve to know." I attached 4 PDFs. The first showed the check I used to save their house in 2009. The second listed the mortgage payments I covered afterward. The third revealed Garrett's gambling debts, tied to my name. The fourth contained screenshots of the security footage. I read my message once more before hitting send. ask only that you read with an open mind. I've stayed silent too long. This is not revenge. This is truth. My finger pressed send. The message flew into the world like a spark. By noon, replies began to flood my inbox. Shock. Disbelief. Support. I had no idea, Aunt Miriam wrote. This changes everything, said Cousin Leo. Uncle James asked why I never told anyone. Because I was raised not to cause trouble, I thought. Because being quiet was safer than being right. The phone rang again. My mother's number. I let it go to voicemail. Then I listened. You're destroying this family, she cried. Your father hasn't eaten in days. Her voice trembled with practiced sorrow. Delete. That evening, I called my real estate agent. I want to sell the property on Maple Street, I said. She hesitated. Your parents' house? Yes. Listed at full market value. Make sure the ownership is clear. The decision settled over me like calm water. I wasn't taking revenge. I was cutting the cord that had bound me for decades. Later that night, Laura appeared at my office door. Her eyes were red, mascara streaked. I didn't know, she said. Her voice broke. Garrett told me you were helping us willingly. I looked at her for a long moment. You knew about the nursery, I said. She flinched but didn't deny it. Tears filled her eyes. I'm sorry, Vi, I really am. I nodded once. Then be better than them. She left without another word. The sun dipped below the horizon. My phone buzzed again. New messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Some offered support, some demanded explanations. But I felt no urge to justify anything. For the first time, I wasn't defending myself. I was defining myself. Outside, the lake shimmered beneath the rising moon. The security lights glowed soft and steady. I poured a glass of wine and sat by the window. Tomorrow, the house would be listed. Soon, the lies would have nowhere left to live. I whispered to the dark. This ends now. And for the first time, it truly did. The envelope arrived at exactly 9 in the morning. White, thick, stamped with the logo of Anderson and Cole Law. My father's attorney had sent their final offer. I opened it carefully, scanning the words that pretended to sound kind. They offered me peace. If I gave up all rights to the family residence. In return, I could keep my lake house. The house they tried to steal. I laughed, low and bitter. Peace doesn't come from surrender. It comes from truth. A knock echoed through my office. My brother walked in without waiting for permission. Behind him, a young couple hovered nervously. He gestured toward them with false charm. Vi, meet the Petersons. They're buying your house next month. He grinned like he'd already won. They've picked nursery colors. Isn't that sweet? I didn't look at the couple. I looked at my brother. You have 60 seconds to leave, I said. His smile faltered. Mom's blood pressure. 50 seconds, I interrupted. The couple backed away, uneasy. My brother's face turned red. You selfish. Security, I said into the phone. 2 guards appeared at the door. They left before the elevator chimed. Silence filled the room like fresh air. I turned back to my computer. Emails waited. Church members asking for reconciliation. My father's golf buddy suggesting I see the bigger picture. Even a doctor's note about my mother's stress. Manipulation disguised as concern. I'd seen that trick my whole life. This time, it didn't work. I opened the final document on my screen. Sale papers for my parents' house. Every signature in place. Every form verified. I hovered over the button. Click. The message sent to the realtor. List the property immediately. Include note. Unique ownership situation fully resolved. By noon, the courier delivered the certified notice to my parents' door. Cameras caught everything. My mother's trembling hands. My father's disbelief turning into rage. Their car sped toward my house minutes later. They pounded on the door, shouting my full name. I pressed the intercom. "The house has been sold," I said. "You have 30 days to vacate." "You can't," my mother cried. "That's our home." "Was your home," I replied. "Just like my savings were mine, just like my peace is now mine." My father's fist hit the door. Sirens flashed in the distance. A neighbor called the police. 10 minutes later, the officers arrived. Everything unfolded quietly after that. The court hearing lasted 15 minutes. The judge reviewed the evidence, calm and clear. "The sale is legal," she said. "The restraining order stands." My father slumped. My mother stared at the floor. I walked out of the courtroom alone. The October sun felt warm on my face. The weight I carried since childhood finally lifted. It wasn't victory I felt. It was release. Not triumph. Freedom. I drove toward the lake, windows down, wind in my hair. For the first time, I wasn't anyone's daughter. I was simply myself. And that was enough. A year passed. The lake shimmered under morning sun, calm and endless. My home stood quiet, filled with light and music. The rooms no longer echoed with fear. They breathed peace. I taught finance classes on weekends, guiding others to independence. The Fresh Start Fund helped women rebuild their lives. Each story reminded me of my own. Sarah, my mentee, called to say she got her promotion. Her joy felt like sunlight through the phone. "Call me Vi," I told her, smiling. Outside, the garden thrived where bitterness once grew. Tomatoes, basil, hope. My parents lived across town now, quietly, learning humility. My brother stayed distant, his silence a strange kind of apology. Sometimes, forgiveness doesn't need words. At night, I sat on the dock, wine in hand, cats beside me. Stars reflected across the lake like tiny promises. This wasn't revenge. It was rebirth. I had lost a family built on obligation, and gained one built on choice. The wind whispered through the trees. Peace isn't loud. It's steady. It's earned. And it finally belonged to me.